Have you ever wondered where religion comes from? It's a huge question, one that has fascinated thinkers for centuries. Today, we're going to dive deep into the origins of religion, exploring the different theories that try to explain how our ancestors first started believing in gods, spirits, and the afterlife. This isn't about proving or disproving any one faith. Instead, it's a journey into the human mind and our shared history. So, let's travel back in time, way back to the dawn of humanity. Imagine being an early human. The world is a wild, unpredictable, and often terrifying place. You don't have science to explain why the sun rises, why storms rage, or why a loved one suddenly gets sick and dies. You're constantly surrounded by forces far greater than yourself. It's in this environment of awe and uncertainty that the seeds of religion were likely planted. One of the earliest and most influential ideas is called animism. This is the belief that everything in nature, trees, rocks, rivers, animals, has a spirit or a soul. Think about it. A storm has a violent, angry power. A river can give life with its water or take it away with a flood. It makes sense that our ancestors would see these natural forces not as objects, but as living, conscious beings. They weren't just things, they were entities you could interact with, maybe even appease. You might offer a piece of your hunt to the river spirit, hoping for a safe crossing, or ask the forest spirit for a successful hunt. This personification of nature was a way to make sense of a chaotic world and to feel a sense of control. From this idea of spirits in nature, it's a small step to ancestor worship. When someone died, especially a respected elder or a powerful leader, their influence didn't just vanish. Their memory, their teachings, their presence was still felt. It was natural to believe that their spirit lived on, watching over the tribe from another realm. These ancestor spirits could offer guidance, protection, or if angered, they could cause trouble. So, people would perform rituals, make offerings, and speak to their ancestors, asking for their favor. This created a powerful social bond, connecting the living with the dead and reinforcing tribal traditions and values. You can still see strong elements of ancestor veneration in many cultures around the world today. Now let's talk about the brain. Modern cognitive science has given us some incredible insights into why we might be hardwired for belief. Our brains are pattern recognition machines. We're constantly looking for cause and effect. If you hear a rustle in the bushes, you don't assume it's the wind, you assume it's a predator. This tendency to see agency, to assume there's a who behind the what, is called the hyperactive agency detection device. It's an evolutionary survival mechanism. It's better to mistakenly think a rock is a bear than to mistake a bear for a rock. This same cognitive bias could have led our ancestors to see intention behind natural events. A lightning strike wasn't just a random discharge of static electricity, it was a deliberate act by a powerful sky god. Another psychological aspect is our deep-seated need for meaning and purpose. We're not content to just exist, we want to know why we're here. Religion provides a comprehensive narrative. It offers an explanation for creation, a moral compass for how to live, and a promise of what happens after we die. This is incredibly comforting. The fear of death, of oblivion, is one of the most fundamental human anxieties. The concept of an afterlife, a soul that continues to exist, soothes that fear and gives our lives a sense of ultimate significance. It suggests our existence isn't just a brief, random flash in a meaningless universe. As human societies grew more complex, so did our religions. When small, hunter-gatherer tribes began to settle down and form larger agricultural communities, their beliefs evolved. The spirits of the local forest and river became less relevant than the gods of the sun, rain, and fertility, the forces that controlled the harvest and the survival of the entire community. This is where we see the rise of polytheism, the belief in many gods, each with their own domain. You'd have a sun god, a rain god, a god of war, a goddess of love. A whole pantheon of deities emerged, mirroring the new, specialized roles in society itself. These gods weren't just abstract forces, they had personalities, stories, and relationships, which we know as myths. These myths weren't just fairy tales, they were sacred stories that explained the world and a community's place within it. These larger societies also needed new ways to maintain social order. How do you get thousands of people who aren't related to each other to cooperate and follow the rules? This is where the concept of big gods comes in. These are powerful, all-knowing, moralizing deities who watch over human behavior and punish wrongdoers. If you believe an invisible, omniscient God is always watching you, you're more likely to behave yourself, even when no one else is around. This belief helped foster cooperation on a massive scale, allowing for the creation of cities, states, and eventually, empires. Religion became a form of social glue, binding large groups of strangers together under a shared moral framework and a common identity: the rituals, the temples. The priest's soul of this complex religious structure helped to solidify and govern these new, large-scale societies. From polytheism, we eventually see the emergence of monotheism, the belief in a single, all-powerful God. This was a radical development. Thinkers like the philosopher Karl Jaspers talked about an axial age, a period around the 8th to 3rd centuries BC, where major spiritual and philosophical shifts happened all across the world. In Persia, you have Zoroastrianism; and Israel, Judaism; and India, Buddhism; in China, Confucianism and Taoism. These traditions began to focus more on personal morality, ethics, and a universal truth, rather than on local deities and sacrificial rituals. Monotheism, in particular, presented a God who was transcendent, above nature, and concerned with justice and compassion for all humanity, not just one tribe. This shift towards universalism and ethical monotheism laid the groundwork for the major world religions we know today, like Christianity and Islam. Of course, no single theory can fully explain something as complex and personal as religion. The true origin is likely a combination of all these factors. It's a mix of cognitive biases, the psychological need for meaning, the personification of nature, and the social need for cooperation and order. It's a story that has been unfolding and evolving for tens of thousands of years, shaped by our environment, our brains, and our ever-changing societies. Religion began as a way for our earliest ancestors to make sense of a mysterious and frightening world. It gave them a sense of control, a connection to their ancestors, and a framework for their community. As societies grew, religion evolved with them, providing the moral and social structure needed for large-scale cooperation. It has inspired some of the greatest art, architecture, and acts of compassion in human history. Understanding the origins of religion doesn't diminish its power or its importance in the lives of billions of people today. Instead, it reveals something profound about what it means to be human. It shows our innate desire to find meaning, to connect with something larger than ourselves, and to build a better, more orderly world. It's a fundamental part of the human story. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration today. It's a massive topic, and we've only scratched the surface. If you found this interesting, let me know in the comments what other big questions you'd like to explore. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss our next journey into the fascinating world of human history and culture. Thanks for watching.